What is going on, everybody? Ladies, gentlemen, everybody else, pull up a chair. Welcome to the table. Two familiar faces here. We've got myself and James. James, how are you doing, good sir?
We are doing all right, man. Excited to talk about how invigorating playing in the Road to Nats was over the weekend, as I'm sure you'll get into. But it kind of, was a breath of new flesh and blood air that we haven't felt in quite some time. So ever since then, I've just been jamming more games, getting more practice in, and loving every second of it. How about you?
Dude, pretty much the same. So we didn't live tweet or anything like that from the event, but Jim and I went to our Road to Nats at Nerd Rage Gaming in Buffalo Grove. It was a nice little event. There were 40 people. I think the official number was maybe 43, but a couple people didn't show. Two of our teammates didn't show for health reasons. But yeah, it was a pretty big event. And Jim and I we had some success. We didn't have as much success as we had hoped, but it was weird. So spoiler alert, Jim and I finished 9th and 10th respectively. I finished 9th, he finished 10th. We both finished 4-2. We assumed that our last round were win and ins, and we both won and wanted to be in. And then we were looking at the window at the top 8, just kind of celebrating around. But overall, it was I would say the event was a success for a few reasons. Jim and I took new heroes of the set. So I took Dromai, he took Fai. We ended up being the top place finishers of those heroes at the event. So there was no other Dromai ahead of me. There was no other Fai ahead of Jim. So we were the top place. And it was funny, actually, now that I think about it. So the last round, we both faced mirrors. And it was kind of like the people's champ. Who's going to be the best Dromai of the tournament? Who's going to be the best Fai of the tournament? And Jim and I both came out victorious in those matchups in round 6. But yeah, it was overall, I had a great time. The deck that I put together performed way better than I anticipated it. And there were a lot of Dromais there. I actually played in 2 mirrors. I knew that there would be some just because, she's cool, she's new, but I didn't expect there to be that many. So, I was very proud of the fact that I was able to finish at the top of all of them. And Jim, I know, you put a lot of heart and soul and time and effort into your Fi deck, and you've refined it. And so I'm sure you felt the same way about your performance as well.
Yeah, and I think it was nothing but information gathering, since a lot of the time leading up to was just us testing against each other, Chris, Sam, or Levi on TTS or whatever it may be, and you kind of had a feel for how things were gonna go, but also in the back of your head, there wasn't enough time to have had the proper testing against a variety of different heroes. So a lot of it was going in naked and being let's see what we're going to learn from today's experiences. And I think that was the biggest takeaway. So I'm sure what you're going to show the list you use, I'm going to show the list I used, and we're already thinking how can we make changes to improve. So I think that was the most biggest takeaway from the event, and the people were awesome. The store was great. Nerd Rage up in Buffalo Grove. We got to see a lot of the community members. The hometown boys were there as always. They'll pop in and out, and then so yeah, I had a great time.
Yeah, and one of the things that one of the things I just love about our meta and just playing, and we talk about it every episode about how just competitively viable everybody is. I felt from round 1, I played Josh from hometown actually. Until every single game, I was getting a deeper understanding of the deck. I had theory. I put the deck together based on what cards do I think are good? How do they perform in limited testing that I was able to do and things like that. By round 6, when I played that final round, I was I know exactly what card, amount of cards, where I want these to be. And that's why you said, as soon as the event was over, I got home and I was okay, I want one less of those. I want these cards. I want this. And I was already tweaking. So just in those 6 rounds playing against some highly competitive people and seeing how the different cards in the deck like interacted, I was able to level up so much just in that brief tournament. I'm disappointed that I didn't make top 8. I know you were too. We've talked about it. I would have liked to have had an opportunity to qualify for nationals in that tournament, but at the same time, you know, I'm very kind of proud of what we did. 4-2 is nothing to scoff at. The breakers in this game, I just do not understand at all. But it is what it is. It's nothing that I'm not gonna hang my hat or say it's bullshit. I should have gone 5-1.
Your 2 losses in Swiss were to the 1 seed and
to John,
and then
I lost 4 and 5. I lost round 4. Round 5, I won 6. John lost round 2 and that
to me
round 6. Yeah, you beat John.
I beat John in round 2.
5.
Yeah. I lost rounds 3 and 5.
3 and 5. I lost 4 and 5. John lost 2 and 6. And so I'm not dogging John at all. He top 4'd. He's an amazing player, and he's also a great dude. I talked to him after the event. John's amazing.
We just didn't know how the tiebreaker.
Yeah, it was weird.
So confusing to try to figure out when you're in the tournament too, if you have a shot or not.
And also when you're not a math expert like the 2 PE teachers on this podcast. Yeah. We're just 2 PE teachers playing card games. So what we're going to do here is we're going to break down our lists that we brought to the event. This is not reflective of the list that I'm currently running. Same with Jim. I know I've made some major tweaks to mine based on the event. I'm not opposed to giving that away. I'm just not going to post it with this video, but I'm sure there will be a later video that I make that will highlight those changes. But talk about the cards that I played at the event. And you know how kind of the deck went. I'll go over just basic matchup stuff. I'm not going to go over crazy in-depth things. But yeah, and then Jim will be after me. So you're going to get 2 deck techs for 1. Jim's going to ask me questions, or if he has any clarifications, I'm going to ask him questions. And we're going to jump right in. So we're going to start off with me. I was the 9th place finisher on Dromai. I went into the event thinking she was good in my testing that I had with Jim. I didn't think she was going to be that good. She just felt a lot better. And maybe it was just because people weren't prepared for her or what. And maybe I'm just a prodigy when it comes to Dromai. Who's to say? I like to believe it's number 2. But anyway, so the list Jim's got up for me. Equipment is pretty standard. I didn't run any AB, which that's one of the questions that I'm looking into for this next event, or my next tweak is, do I want Crown of Reflection as a starting AB? And the only reason I would do that is for maybe the Viserai matchup. I did end up playing the Viserai who beat me and Jim. Actually, he was the number 1 seed overall, great player. And he kept the Ashwings off the board. So there's a question whether or not the AB equipment is needed for that matchup. I have not decided yet. I need to test it a lot more to make that permanent decision. But otherwise, standard Ghostly Touch is the only sideboard piece of equipment that I have, and that is only there for Guardian. And funnily enough, I played Bravo round 2, and I did not side it in. I completely forgot that I had that as a thing, like a scrub. So I ran Silken Form against Bravo, and it didn't matter because I beat him anyway. But make sure you don't make that mistake. Side in Ghostly Touch for Guardians and Brutes, and then everything else, the other 4, just Silken Form is for literally every other matchup. Equipment played fantastic all day. Furnace is a godsend. I know people are starting to test the Tunic. There's going to be some variants that test Tunic. I'm not sold on that. I think Furnace is just so damn good at what it does. It's an Ash resource. Jim saw me in my last game. This is just one of the plays you can make. But I pitched pitched a red, played Spears of Surreality for 5 go again. He didn't block. And then I activated Furnace, pitched a red, and then Command and Conquered from hand. And he responded to that. And then I just ate up his hand. And that's just an all red hand. Being able to play a 5 go again attack and Command and Conquer, it's crazy. Plus create 2 Ash along the way. Filthy. And then Providence is also just busted. Providence is good. So yeah, the list I ran. So the attacks first, we can go down the list. Billowing Mirage, red. This is one of the cards that I'm considering cutting just because I think the blue offers the same amount of value, if not more value, because it's a blue. But it was fine. It's not nothing special. It's decent. Creating ash wings in the mirror is extremely important for those of you guys that have not tested the mirror. I played 2 mirrors, and it's kind of a game of chicken. Whoever creates the last Ashwing and whoever can dominate the board state with dragons established and Ashwings, you're going to win. And so it's almost like, okay, you get your stuff out. Cool. Now I have a red rake and I'm going to create my 3 Ashwings, and now I'm going to wipe your board, and now you have to respond. And if you don't respond, now I can start going in on my attacks towards you. So the mirror is a very weird chess game, and billowing helps that out a lot. Because it creates an Ashwing with Go Again naturally that can't be popped. So you can attack a dragon with Billowing if they have a good dragon out, create an Ashwing, kill an Ashwing with your Ashwing, and then kind of go into stuff like that. Command and Conquer and Erase Face, those are the 6s that I brought along. Erase Face and Command and Conquer, both very good against Fai. I did not face the Fai the whole event. Erase Face is very good into Runeblade, Viserai especially because it turns off all of his stuff. It did not come up in my game because I got my ass kicked in that game. Erase Face didn't matter when I drew it. Other than that, it's fine. Everywhere else, Erase Face is kind of overrated. I did have 2 instances of people playing Erase Face against me in the tournament, thinking that it shut off all of my stuff, and I had to explain to them that dragons still have dragons. So it does not do that much against me. So Erase Face against Dromai, if you're planning on running it as like a Dromai beater, it does not work against her at all. She loses Illusionist, she loses Draconic, but she doesn't care about those things most of the time. Because the dragons do not lose dragon. So
it doesn't completely destroy her like it does me.
Yeah, it shuts down Fai like immensely. All of his attacks just become attacks. Like nothing. The sword loses Go Again. He doesn't have Draconic Chain Links, anything like flames, that.
Yeah, it's brutal against me.
Yes, Dromai, it does not matter against her. But yeah, those were my 6 poppers. I didn't run any thaws, and I think I would keep this lineup. I like Command and Conquer is still pretty good. It still demands against certain decks. It still demands a response, especially against like Fai, right? If you think that like Oldham's gonna be running Crown of Seeds, you probably don't run it against him. But it's Command and Conquer is still Command and Conquer. It's not going away. Then I ran Spears of Surreality and Dunebreaker Cenopai. Those are the 1-for-5s. Dunebreaker is the better Spears, but I would run both of them. Just 1-for-5. It's above rate. They have Go Again, and then those are like your few attacks that have Phantasm, so they can be saved with Footsteps. Back to the equipment. I know people are like debating running. Dude, Time Skippers has been talked about on the Discord. If you are even considering Time Skippers, you are out of your mind. Footsteps is the way to go. I will let you kind of a spoiler on the next episode. I've added in the 2-for-8s, the Ember Moss Centipais, because it's just an insane attack that generates 2 ash for 8. And if they pop it, you can save it with Footsteps. So I'm adding Footstep value. So Footsteps still the best in slot. And Dunebreaker, Spears, and Embermaw are reasons why. So, yeah, Dunebreaker's better than Spears, but I would run them both because, the 1-cost attacks with Go Again are just so premium in this deck because you generate an Ash, you're threatening 5 damage, it has Go Again, so it turns on all their dragons, and then especially if they have Phantasm because you have the Footsteps in the back, if they pop it, you pitch another red to create an Ash, and now all of your dragons have Go Again. So if your opponents are wasting poppers on the 5s, you are made because that's 1 less popper that they can use for your dragons.
What about your favorite card that you brought up to me like 6 times and you were like, I'm running it. It feels great. Are you talking about the Ravenous Rabble? Yeah.
Okay, so notoriously, I hate this card. I have hated this card forever since we started playing. I thought this was a Welcome to Raid.
I think it's an arcane card.
It is an arcane card. So, funny story, dating back to our Destiny ways, Bob Look, who, again, has been featured on this channel twice, he will always pick these cards. For whatever reason, whenever he likes a card, I just have to razz him for it. And I just say, this card sucks ass. Like, why are you playing this card? And then it ends up being like a meta card, and I have to eventually apologize to him for this. And Ravenous Rabble, for the longest time, I was like, Ravenous Rabble sucks. I never played a deck that Ravenous was relevant in. I was like, dude, it's a terrible card. I'm never playing it. And he was always high on it, even before Dromai. And now that I'm playing it, he's like, yeah, you're playing Ravenous, huh? So Ravenous Rabble, I put in 2 of the night before just because I was like, you know what? I've got 2 slots. Why not? This card is insane. It overperformed. I have 3 in the list now because it's so good. Dromai's specialty is block out and then play a 0 cost if you have the opportunity to, and activate all your dragons if they went face. And Rabble is like that on steroids because it's all you're throwing 4 back. Most of the time you're throwing 4 back, and then you are like, okay, Ashwing, 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 Yenderai. And it's like now all of a sudden 4 damage. You blocked out 9 unless you had like a sink or something. You blocked out at least 9, and now you're throwing back 10 for a 0 cost in your hand. It's crazy. Rabble is an enabler. It's really good. The block does not matter because, you know, you always want to keep this card in your hand. So you're blocking. You don't care about blocking with dragons as long as you can save this card. And depending on your board state, you can enable everything. So yeah, this card overperformed. It was so good. Whenever I played it, other people were like, Rabble, ooh, okay. Like they were expecting like other cards. Like they were expecting me to like invoke a dragon and then they would have a response. But like no one wants to block this because they're saving all their cards either for their turn or
no one's blocking this. It's 4 damage going through every time.
And it's a 4 enabler. So it's like 4 damage enabler that does everything. And then they're like the look on people's faces when they were like realizing that now they have to take it and like they weren't expecting that. They're like, damn, okay. The other card that pairs with this, I think I got all the reds out of the way. Oh, Sweeping Blow. I'm not going to talk about it. The card. You have to run all 3. Just run all 3. Card's insane. And then the blues. We'll talk about the blues in a second. But the other card that kind of paired really well with Ravenous is Sigil. So it's another card that I haven't necessarily been that high on since it came out. I know you used to run it in like old school Bravo. But again, yeah, Sigil is another one of those 0 costs that just turns everything on. This one can get kind of cheeky because you can like swing with the dragon and they would say, okay, no blocks. You're just going to attack once. And you're like, oh, link step resolution. I'm going to play Sigil. And now all your dragons have go again and you gain 3 health. Sigil performs really well into Fai, performs really well into Icelander, which I didn't play. It's just, you know, all day it was really good. Like I played a combo Bolton who got double Lumina combo off like turn 3 or something. And he was trying to chip away, and I ended up gaining 9 health off of Sigils, and then I won that game like with 2 health left. So, you know, the 9 health gain, if you can get all 3 out, is just insane. So yeah, Sigils, again, 3 of, I think it's a staple in Dromai lists. I don't know. I know people kind of disagree with that right now, but test it out. Trust me, it's very, very, very good. Now we'll get into the spicy stuff. We'll get into the dragons. I don't have to talk about like, you know, the defensive package there. I think it felt good. I'm probably going to cut sand covers. I don't know yet though. I think at 6 is probably the most you want to run just because all your stuff blocks for 3. You don't necessarily need defense reactions, but we'll see how that feels. Burn them alls. I love this card. I think 3 is too many. But I think 1 is too few. So I think 2 is the sweet spot on Burn Them All just because you can't see it early. So you want to see it like mid to late game because that's when it starts spiraling and it's impossible to get off the field. So yeah, Burn Them All is just, it's nuts. It won me a lot of games because people aren't preparing for Arcane with her. I think there could be a time when if we see like people bringing Arcane Barrier to Dromai matchups, then you just cut this card. But as of right now, I think it's a mandatory at least 1 of. If you're not sure, I think I wouldn't run it under 2 because I want to see it every game because it just closes. It just represents so much damage.
Do you play it in the mirror?
Yeah. Even with the Ashwings, if they're pitching to block it, you're like fine. And the mirror is like so sweepy. Like literally the whole game is. Okay, I'm sweeping your ash. I'm going to create ash wings to sweep your ash wings. Okay, now I'm going to. So it's like it's really hard to have ash wings that are set up for a long period of time, where you're able to pitch your hand and able or to block arcane damage. So the whole like the last game I would say was the best. The mirror that like was the most like grindy, and Neither one of us the whole game. He had to burn them all for 5 turns. I had to burn them all for 5 turns, and neither one of us pitched once to block Arcane. It was just, clean house, clean house. I'm going to keep my hand. I'm going to do my things. And if you have to block like a Kyloria or if you have a popper or something like that, then that's what you have to save it for. But the mirror is a very weird, grindy, like just sweep, sweep, sweep. And you can't really afford to pitch for the Arcane. Unless you had like a hand of like multiple blues and an Ashwing somehow survived. That was kind of the it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Burn Them All is really good. I love this card. All right, Dragon Package. I'm just going to go down the list in alphabetical order. Asvalai is insane. Anybody that's considering not running 3 of this guy is just ridiculous. Like, I think that's so incorrect. Just dragons are the part of the, like, dragons are this deck. You're playing this deck because of dragons, and you have a 0-cost dragon. He has 3 health. He deals split damage. In the mirror, he's insane because he just wipes boards by himself. So you just hold one of these guys until they get like a board state established with Ashwings. You play him for 0. You attack their big dragon with the physical, and you just clear the Ashwings with Arcane. And you're just like cleaning house. He's the sweeper in the mirror. He deals split damage against everybody else. So if they don't have a popper, he's dealing Arcane, and no one respects the Arcane right now. So Asvalai is crazy. As a 0-coster, there is nothing more than you want here. You have to run all 3 in my eyes. You play him in every single matchup. I would not. Anybody thinking about not running 3 of him, I think that's so incorrect. Dromai, again, those of you that are watching this video that have followed me or followed Dromai, he's probably the best dragon. So I don't need to talk about him. He's the best. 0-coster, gains you an action point. If they don't have a popper, you can do some nutty stuff with this dude. Like, so I was in I go back to the last mirror every time. Last mirror, play Dromai, swing Dromai. He doesn't have a popper. I gain 2 action points. Swing with an Ashwing, nothing. Swing with an Ashwing, nothing. Command and Conquer, race face. Same turn. Like, crazy. Like, it's, even though the race face doesn't do anything, that's 12 damage that they have to do. So I think I went to race face command and conquer because I killed his arsenal that turn. And like, that's just a tempo swing. And like, then he has to like spend his turn just killing Dromai so that doesn't happen again. And now I get a full grip with my Ashwing still out to just do some stupid shit. So Dromai's insane. Dominia is, you play her. If you get her out, it's great. You don't force her. Like, you don't have to force her. She's not a win condition. She's just like, that's the thing with her and Tumultai especially. They're not win cons. Tumultai is a little bit more of a win con in Fai and against Lexi. I was not able to get him out versus Lexi, which is why I couldn't, it wasn't an easy matchup. I ended up losing that matchup to John. But yeah, Tumultai and Dominia are never like forced. If you can Arsenal them, great. You have a little bit of Arsenal insurance with Crown of Providence, but you don't like take a bunch of damage to play them out. You don't want to take damage with her. Because your whole thing is kind of control, and then eventually you'll spiral, similar to Prism, but don't take a ton of damage thinking that Dominia is your win con, because she's just going to get cleared out next turn anyway. And what did you do? You might have gotten 1 card from their hand. It's more of like, hey, I got a blue and a red, and they didn't really do much on their turn. You can play Dominia, or you can play Tumultai. Tumultai, depending on the matchup, I might take a little bit more to get him out, because he represents win conditions against like early. If you can get him out turn 2 against like Fai, you like win that game a lot, because you can if you kill their mask, you win that game more often than you lose if you can get him out early. You know what I mean? Jim, you were on the receiving end of that. Maybe you could talk about it.
Yeah, in our testing, yeah, you beat me in it. In the tournament, a guy busted my mask turn 2 and I still won. But yeah, it's obviously far from ideal, and I would say there's a high percentage chance where, I mean, it's just game winners against Ninja or Ranger. Like, even if it got either of the Rangers, like anybody who has any type of
critting Crown of Seeds is good. Like, critting Crown of Seeds is huge too. Like, my mirror match, the last match, he got out Tumultai, revealed the top 2. It was yellow.
Oh, wow.
Swing and a miss. Missed my furnace, and then I was able to kill Tumultai next turn.
I wish that happened to me.
It's nuts. I have never, this is like, I am due for some terrible variants. I have never missed a reveal ever with this deck. Not one time. I have never not revealed a red card with anything, with Rabbles, with Dominia, with Tumulti.
That's just
so bad stuff.
Yeah, bad stuff coming.
Thamai never came up. I'm going up now. Let's go back. Dracona Atamai never came up. I still put him in because he's a bomb. If you can get him out, he's a bomb. I'm changing up my blues a little bit to make him a little bit easier. I'm going to add an energy potion because I think he's a bomb. And I don't want to cut him because he's a bomb. So at worst, he's a red pitch, block 3. You pitch to maybe get him in later. If you have to block with him, whatever. You didn't get Dracona that game, but you keep in the bomb because he's a bomb.
I've never seen him on the table.
He's coming. Kyloria, one of the best dragons. She's the snatch dragon. She's insane. Mirror guy, also necessary. Best dragon. He allows him and Dromai are best friends. If you get them both on the table at the same time, you are doing some spooky stuff, and then your opponent doesn't know who to attack. My favorite thing is when you're playing against like a Guardian, and they're like, okay, Mirror Guy and Dromai are both on the table. I'm going to attack the Mirror Guy, leave Dromai, and then the next turn you're like, okay, I got another Invoke Mirror Guy, so I'm going to put another Mirror Guy on the table, and then you do the same stuff to them, and they're like, what the hell? So, yeah, they're best friends. If you get them out together, you do stupid stuff. But Uvia is interesting. She's really good in the mirror because then you just shit out Ash Wings and you can kind of control the board state. But like other than that, she's like not insane. You never attack with her because she only attacks for 1. She has 6 health, so she's got a big butt. But you know, the Ash Wing generation is good into certain matchups. But like against Fai, you don't want to run it because you're wasting your Ash, and then you don't really want to give them targets to just Phoenix Flame. So she's kind of tricky to learn her play patterns. I still think I would run 3. I like her enough in the matchups where she's good, where I don't mind siding her out. Like I don't have to force her in every matchup. She's good in the Guardian, like really good in the Guardian. Ashwings kind of control that matchup, and then if they have to attack her, you're fine with that. Like especially like Oldham, like if they're spending an attack, like an attack action card to kill her, you're like, thank you, that's cool with me. Thamai never came up. I actually had 3 of them in because I knew Levi was going to be there. And then when Levi said he couldn't go, I went down to 3, or I went down to 2. He's only in there for like Levi. Like even if I would run into like a regular Icelander, I would probably side him in. But like now he might just become Thaw. I don't know if he's versatile enough or if once the Icelanders get better. Like there was only 1 at the tournament, and I don't know where they were. They weren't close to the top table. But once the Icelanders get better, then he comes back and comes more relevant. And we didn't have any Oldhams at all at the tournament, so Oldham's not really a big presence in our meta. So he's kind of bad right now. So I really like him. Like when I play against Levi, he hits the table and he like just shuts Icelander down. But I think knowing what I know now, with like John on Ice Lexi and stuff, I think Thaw might be the right answer for now. And then lastly for the Dragons, Yenderai, he's just so good. The counter with preventing, he's basically a 1 for 6 that does 3 damage. He's such a tank. Like Fai never wants to attack him because it's just a waste of attack. The Wizards never want to deal damage to him because he prevents 3. He doesn't like Dorinthia. If she swings a Dawnblade at him with the counter on, it doesn't count as a hit because he just prevents the damage. So they have to react in order to get the hit, which is great. I didn't play Dorinthia, but that's just an example.
You know what's interesting, which we need to remember, is if I ever second attack a 1 this guy and I have Shuko, he can't prevent it.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. So you can automatically deal damage to him right away.
Yeah, and I'll always forget what would happen to the counter.
It goes off because you dealt damage.
It does come off. It doesn't get this. It doesn't stay even though it technically didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the damage can't be prevented. Yeah.
Interesting.
And then the last good card that I had. So I played Rake, Yellow Rake, and 3 Red Rakes. Red Rakes are like absolutely mandatory. They're just good everywhere. Creating Ash Wings is just fantastic. They're like, better spectral shields. The Yellow Rakes were there for the mirror and for Guardians. They were good in the mirror. I don't think you need it against Guardian, especially if I would have played that correctly with Ghostly Touch. I don't think you need it in the Guardian matchup. I think you could probably win relatively. I hate saying easily. The guy that I beat the second round, he finished like right behind us. He was like 12 or like 11 or something like that. So he's a very good Bravo player. And I don't think it would have mattered had I taken these out against him, just because he admittedly had never played against Dromai before. So I know the matchup would be different had we played again. But yeah, I don't think you need them. It's a yellow card, so automatically it doesn't synergize well with the deck. I think this just becomes cards that you need more. So this is a cut for me. It did perform very well in the mirror. I will say that. I liked it for the mirror a lot. But I don't think this is a card that justifies a spot over, say, Ember Moss Senpai, which, again, I spoiled. Those are the cards that I've slotted in replace of this. I went down to 2 Burn Them All. So I'm running the 3 Ember Moss in red now. But yeah, I think this card is just not good enough. I think there's better cards that she needs that will help you in other matchups, like Ember Moss. And then I think the blues are standard. Ember Maw is just a very good value. A blue that does 6, that blocks for 3 is great. Passing was really good in a couple of matchups, especially that Bravo matchup, because he left it out for a while. Because I was able to pair this with a Mirror Guy. Like, I put this down turn 1 and he didn't respect it, and then I was able to get Mirror Guy down, and so I was kind of doubling up on the Phantasm cancellations. So even if he killed Mirror Guy, I still had another turn where I was able to, attack first without Phantasm, which really went a long way. And then I saw my other 2 Mirror Guys eventually, and then was able to just kind of keep on constant pressure once I took tempo back. Semblance, I think you have to have 2 of. If I would have played that Guardian matchup right and ran Ghostly Touch, you just pitch this and then eventually wait until your Ghostly Touch gets up to 9, 10, 11 counters, and then you're swinging with like a 10 counter beat stick that they try to pop with a 3 block, and then you just negate it with Semblance. And then now they're taking, 7 damage, plus you can do your other stuff. I think it's just Semblance is crazy. And then 3 Sweeping Blows, just really good value from a blue. So I know I try to go quick. Blood of the Drakai, that's the bling. I like this card. I know a lot of people, are kind of, I was talking to Sam about it, and he was like, you should cut that card. And the way that I used it was I would pitch it for a 1-coster, and then I would get value on my next card. So it's a red pitch that generates an ash that acts as a yellow sometimes. I'm not getting full value. I've never gotten full value where I'm pitching 4 cards for it or playing 4 cards after it. It's never going to happen. But if I can pitch a red, create an ash, and have a red in my deck that pitches for as a yellow, that was it. It's really good value. I was able to in the mirror, the last round, I pitched it, played Spears, played a 0 cost and then I had 1 card in arsenal, no cards in hand, nothing floating, and then I was able to get a yellow rake out from my arsenal and create 2 ash wings, and then clear his board. And I had no resources floating, nothing. He was like, okay, you got nothing northern floating, you got the blood, whatever, and I was able to have the 1-coster in arsenal that got discounted by blood. So I'm not going to cut this card. I'm keeping it in my list. If you don't have it, though, I've said this so many times. The Fables are like bonuses. You don't have to have them. You don't have to run them if you don't pull them. Or I wouldn't buy this card if you don't have it. A lot of lists that I've seen floating around or that I've talked to people about don't run this card. But I run it. I like it. I don't think there's really. I haven't been bitten by it yet, where it's really really mattered.
So. That being said, I kind of want you to talk about just in general, the like you said, every game that you played, you felt like you were starting to get the feel and the style. What is that style then for someone who wants to try Dromai? What style are you recommending them? Because they're going to be attracted by all these dragons and putting out dragons and doing that stuff, but what's the in your eyes style that she embodies best?
So I don't know what it is, but I feel really confident in my ability to play this deck right away, and it might be my experience playing Prism. I don't know, even though this deck plays kind of differently from Prism, but I go based on my gut instinct a lot. And this deck is not just throw dragon, swing dragon. It's not that kind of deck. And if you're just playing at the kitchen table with like a buddy and you want to put dragons on the table, this is great. But if you want to play more competitively, you kind of have to just feel out your opponent. Like, you have to be able to read when you think your opponent has a popper, because poppers shut you down immediately. So like, my style is very like block oriented. Get Ashwings on the table. Use the Ashwings as your feeler cards. So if you don't have like Dromai and Mirror Guy paired where you're not guaranteeing an action point, like, feel out with your Ashwings, right? Ashwing poke, okay, no block. Ashwing poke, no block. Ashwing poke, no block. Okay, they took 3. Do I think they're saving up for their turn, or do I pressure with an Asvalai and swing? And if they pop Asvalai with a 6, is that going to reward me, right? If your opponent doesn't have an arsenal slot, I'm more inclined to attack with another dragon because, okay, if they pop with a 6, my turn's over, but now they're on a 3-card hand. So I'm okay with that. So it's a lot of like, and it depends on which dragon, right? In like the Lexi matchup, for instance, I had Yenderai on the table, and I knew he was running battering bolts, and so I didn't want to give him that value of a 1-card block Yenderai, kill his token and him. So I just put him on the table as kind of a target and just left him there. Eventually I attacked with him, but like the turn that I got him out, I was just like, okay, I'm going to establish my board state. I can block him out if he doesn't attack Yenderai, which he's not going to because he's got the token on him. And then I can start establishing my board with other dragons and other, 1-for-5s that he's not going to pop or whatever. So it's a lot of patience. The first 2 rounds of the tournament, I was the last person to finish, or I was the last. I mean, I faced Amir and I faced a Bravo, which are going to be 2 slower matchups anyway. But even the matchup, my 3rd round matchup, I played combo Bolton, and even that went pretty long too. It wasn't until I think actually round 4. Oh yeah, round 4 when I played Viserai, that was the fastest matchup, and then I went to like close to time again against John on Lexi because we both kind of decked out almost. So you have to be in there for the long game, and that's why I really like sigils and stuff like that. And just be patient. Don't just think I'm going to slam dragon on table, attack with dragon, because if they do have that 6, your turn's shut down, and now they have a lot of tempo. So you can't just keep giving them that back and forth. You kind of have to be setup oriented. And if they attack your dragons, you have to remember, just because they're killing your stuff, it's not the worst thing in the world, right? You are gaining health every time they waste an attack on a dragon. So if they are wasting attacks on Dromai, for instance, that's +3 or +2 health that you're gaining. If they're attacking Asvalai, that's +3 health. If they're attacking Yenderai, that's +6 health that you're gaining over the course of the game. And then you got the big bombs like Dominia and Tumultai, which are 4 and 5. So you're gaining health. So take that to your advantage. Mm-hmm. Don't get disappointed because, I got Tumultai on the table and then they just killed him the next round. That's going to happen literally every time Tumultai's on the table. They're going to kill him the very next turn. Yeah. You're going to get one chance to melt their equipment. That's it. But don't be disappointed because he had a chance to melt the equipment and he gained you 5 health. So that's kind of the mindset that you have to take going into it. Don't think that like, oh man, my board's done now. They just killed my dragon. They're going to do that, but they're gaining you health in the long run. So
the 3 majestic dragons, you should never expect to get past more than 1 time.
Ever. You have 1 attack, literally 1 attack. Dominia, you can maybe get 2 if you kill, like, if they have just an ass hand and you kill, like, their only good card that could attack her, maybe you'll be able to get 2 attacks out of her. But other than that, Tumultai is a huge target. He's going to be dead next round. Optimize, same thing, which I've never hit the table. But, yeah, just be patient. There's a lot of value in the attack. The attack action cards are where your value is going to come because that's the damage that you're going to get through consistently. Because no one wants to block that, or no one wants to waste poppers on your phantasm attacks. They're going to save everything for your dragons, and that's kind of the game plan.
Yeah, awesome. Any final thoughts before we move on?
No, like I said, I made a lot of tweaks. I've made a lot of changes already.
Let's talk about that. I think you talked on it, like what cards you took out, but what cards you adding in? So I want 1 energy potion, and I'm probably going to cut a passing mirage for that energy potion. And the reason is kind of twofold. It's going to help get the bigger dogs on the table more consistently. So I'm expecting to be able to afford Tumultai off of a blue, which is insane. I'll be able to play
Optimi a little bit more often. But the bigger threat that I've heard about and that I've talked to some people about is Guardians running exposed to the elements. So if you're playing Oldhim, he can run exposed and kill your Ghostly Touch. And a lot of times in the Oldhim matchup, that's going to be one of your win cons is Ghostly Touch. So if they expose that and you're resource thin because we're running reds and you don't have an energy potion built up, they just kill your Ghostly Touch and you're kind of just GG's. Or it's going to be just it's probably going to be a draw, honestly, or a lot harder for you to win. So I think Energy Potion as a one-of makes a lot of sense in this deck. You don't really need 3 passing Mirages, especially if you're running all 3 Mirror guys, which everybody should be. So I think that's a good addition for anybody that's trying out this deck. I think 3 Ravenous Rabble is correct. So find room in your list for 3 Ravenous Rabble. I think you want 3 red Ember Maws, and the reason is if like turn 1, turn 2, whatever it is, you pitch 2 reds to it, swing for 8. Your opponent, like, it's 8. Like, it's still 8 damage, and you're generating 2 Ash. That's the important part. And then late game, when you don't really care about Ash, you can pitch a blue, play a 1-cost attack, and then finish and end with an Ember Maw for 8, which is, super threatening. So 3 Ember Maws, I think, is correct. An Energy Potion is correct. And then I do want to test out Necria. I didn't run Necria, but a lot of people are, so I'm going to find room for 2 of her. She's good into matchups where you're not really expecting a lot of poppers, just because, 7 health. She's generating Ash. She attacks for 4. She's just a big body that does a lot of stuff. But yeah, other than that, I think the core is there. Like, if you're going to take my list and run with it, I think the core is pretty sound. Like, I don't think you need 3 Sand Covers, 3 Fates, 2 Sinks. I think you can just go to 6 defensive options, whatever that may be, and run with that. But other than those major changes that I was talking about, like Thamai probably gets cut for Thaws right now just for Icelander and Lexi, and then Thamai can always come back in depending on how good your Icelanders are and if they're going for the Frost-X combo. But everybody else is good. I would not cut Optimize still. I'm going to test him with Energy Potion, and in theory, he becomes a lot easier to get on the table. The other change that I was going to make, or that I should talk about, is the 3 red Billowings probably become blue Billowings. So you'll run a little bit more blues, and you'll have 1 less red attack. But I think if you go up to 3 Rabbles, that doesn't matter. But red Billowing is fine. It doesn't really do much. Blue Billowing does the same thing. It's just not red. But you're going to have a ton of reds anyway. So that's an okay switch to make. But yeah, other than that, I'm content with this list. I think this is a very good starting point. And then put your stamps on it. Tell me about anything that you've been testing out. Don't come at here talking about time skippers, because that's not a thing for me. But other than that, yeah, I think this is it's a good core. I'm really excited with how this performed, and I think the tweaks that I'm going to make are only going to make it a little bit stronger.
Yeah, that's awesome. And congrats. Good job on the 4-2 9th place finish. It's only up from here, my friend.
Yeah, Bubble Boys for life, baby.
Bubble Boys, baby. Okay, switching over to my end of things. So the Fai that I was running was more of a flame recursion Fai, kind of going for the combo of going to try to high roll people with Phoenix Flame.
Yeah. Can I interrupt you? Can I interrupt you real quick? Because I'm going to ask, because this is really important. So the Fai list that you were running at the beginning, right? It was all like, let's just put in good shit Fai, right? We're going to put in all these 3 go against, all these 4 go against, and we're going to just try and damage them all to death, right? And we're just going to go and go and go and go. And you made this call, right? Even the Fai list that we've seen top or win or whatever, they're not playing this version. So explain why your version differs from those, because this is a Jim Welsh. This is a crockpot. This is a cooking Jim Welsh, and you're proud of it, and I like that you're proud of it. So explain to the people why your list is different than any other, like, just good stuff Fai list.
That's a tough answer, because kind of like how you said, you started to get the feel every game of how you liked playing Dromai and what you wanted to do. I started to feel that same thing, and I felt like the variance in lines I can take and options I can and cannot do. I like decision points and thinking, and I think there's a lot more decision points when you're thinking about how to try to set up like an awesome high roll turn, or just recur as many flames when or when not to Fai, even if it's going to cost you resources at times, and kind of getting your way into molding your turn into what you want it to be. And honestly, I think, like, sure, what's going to happen is those Fais that have like good cards and are going to threaten more mask opportunities with like actually trying to hit the mask. Okay, so here's what I mean by that. Like, threatening on that third link in a row, threatening a 4 attack is going to put your opponent into a pressure situation where it's harder for them to stop that, like unless they have a defense reaction or equipment. But I guess I don't care about that as much as long as I threaten the mask. I don't care if it's like a 1 or 2, because like there's ways to increase damage in this deck, like from Shuko or Sprinting Flames or whatnot, where my 1s and 2 attacks like feel like they're coming in for more. And if they stop the mask trigger, then you're getting equipment or card. And either way, it's fine and good. You're losing maybe like a couple more damage, like you're not drawing from the mask as much as you probably could. But I think I want people to interact with me and use their equipment and start to disadvantage themselves on their own turn. And so we'll talk about like how I go about trying to do that and how this deck was designed, and then what I think I can do differently, because I think a little bit combination of both is probably like the correct answer. But yeah, thank you for that. The equipment is pretty standard. Like if you were to be like, okay, what's the safest equipment you can run in case you ran into like a wizard or something? But like Ryan said, there's like no wizard stuff going on right now, except I can't change this. I cannot change this because Levi is in my local scene, and then there's other Chris from the channel is interested in Icelander, and then there's other people in our local scene that are interested in Icelander. And so like maybe if I go to a tournament again, I would edit this, but I don't even know if I can do that because like those people pose such a presence. Knowing that Levi couldn't make the tournament, I could have pivoted like Ryan did, but it's hard for me to lose the AB3. So the No Rune gloves, the robe, and the Tide Flippers, I feel like is safe. But at the same time, like, I don't know, you're losing damage when you're pitching your blues to stop Arcane. But for right now, until I really feel that out, it's fine to have in.
You don't make these guys, you mean? Like,
yeah, I don't make those. I need to like make decisions about my equipment because I don't have just things that come with it.
That's sweet.
The furnace. So I think what I've learned most over these 2 weeks is like in any aggro matchup, you play the furnace because you are going to maybe get your tunic to counter like one time before either you win the game or they win the game. Like 3 turns to 4 turns is probably how long the game's going to last, maybe 5. But you're not going to get that tunic resource twice. And if you did, then that's probably bad for you because you've been blocking and stuff. So you play the furnace for the block in any aggro match. You play the tunic in anything where you think your opponent is going to try to prolong the game. The mask is always our option, no matter what. And Shuko is always our arms, whereas I know people like to play the stubby hammers. But Fai is so fragile that I think the Shuko block is like just greater than. Which is funny because like the style of deck I'm playing is like to try to high roll with like a ton of damage on like a big turn. And so the stubbies would probably fit that agenda better. But I just like Shuko, and I like the legendary and I want to use it, and I'm going to keep testing it. And I feel like Stubbies is lame. You might like it, you might think it's cool, but I like Shuko and I like the block.
What's your Shuko interaction with Prism? And is this confirmed?
No, I don't know if it is or isn't, but my buddy, the TCG Talk guy, Sam, he messaged and was like, yeah, if Shuko goes through on a Prism and they don't block it, like physically block it with a card or equipment, then it's gonna interact with as many what do they call it? Spectral shields as they have, because I guess each one of them is going to attempt to prevent and then fail to prevent the damage. So it's like if they had 6 spectral shields, it would work on all 6 of them. And like, I don't know what a spectral shield reads, but I think he was saying they end up losing like all their spectral shields, not just like one of them.
It's not confirmed, but
it's not confirmed.
Can confirm that. But he said that interaction today, and that was like,
it's pretty cool. But yeah, I like Shuko. I like it, and it kind of makes you feel like very tanky at times. Like when you're out there with Mask, Furnace, and Shuko. Like when it comes down to the end of the game, if you need to block, you have like a semi-fridge of blocks with your equipment. So that's pretty fun and awesome. Now to the meat and potatoes. So I like to break it down into like different categories. Let's talk about just like the cards that I want to start a combat chain with, are like starters, like ideal starters. Ideal starters are going to be like the 3s, basically the 0 for 3. So like the Brand with Cinder Claws, the Rising Resentments you don't mind starting with. Spreading Flames is the ideal starter based on your hand. What else do you want to start with? The Ronin Renegades, and basically the 0 for 3s. And then you have your Flame Recursion package, which ideally you don't want to start with, because in some capacity... Oh, you would want to start with a Rise from the Ashes too, I'm sorry. It's basically... You take a flame. What I like to just take the flame, use the flame as the first link as a 3 go again after you buff it with Rise. And then depending on situation, you either close the chain if you need to go get that flame again later, or if you leave it out, you can leave it out there if the situation fits, which is fun. Like, again, that's decision point stuff that you have to really get accustomed to as you play him. So then like the Flame Recursion stuff are the Flame Call Awakenings, the 2 Inflames, the Rise from the Ashes acts as a starter and a Flame Recursion, and then Stoke the Flames, which I'm probably the only person on Fai playing this card, and it's probably the wrong call, to tell you the truth. Like, I probably shouldn't be playing this, but I think it's fine. And if you're not familiar with what Stoke the Flames does, because nobody plays this in any Fais, it's a 1 for 4. If it hits, get a flame from your graveyard and add it to your hand. And if you do that, it gains go again. And the reason why I like this card is because once people realize and feel how badly I want to recur flames, it kind of puts fear in them for, like, if I do have the Phoenix form or draw into the Phoenix form. And like I said, I want people to interact and block. And sometimes, like, if it was a Mounting Anger or a Soaring Strike and it's just like a 1 for 4, and then Mounting Anger, buffs the next card by +1, depending on Chain Link with the cost, and Soaring can give the next one go again or whatever it is. Like, I just feel like this is just a better benefit. Like, okay, that's cool. Like, +1 damage from the next card is awesome. It can turn a 3 into a 4, and that's really cool. But I kind of want my flame, and I want you to want to block this to, like, stop my turn. You kind of tease them like, hey, look, you can stop my turn. You block this, I don't get go again. And we run the Snapdragon Scalers. I forgot to bring that up. And in most times, you don't need to Snapdragon something throughout the entire game, because most of your cards have go again, and you can set up your turns in a correct way to where you're not needing to use Snapdragon. So if they do block this, but you need to continue to go, you can snap it. And it blocks for 3, whereas like Soaring Strike and Mounting Anger do not. And so I'm like really weird. Ryan knows I'm really weird. Like, I like to like try to read the lines, and like, so LSS gave this card a full art, extended art. They gave Inflame an extended art, and then they gave Flame Call Awakening an extended art, and they gave Phoenix Form an extended art. So I'm pretty stupid. I was like, well, they're probably sending a message that if you want to pull off a Phoenix Form style deck, that's the type of shit that you need in it to get it done. Like, it synergizes well. They all recur flames in some capacity. So instead of Mounting Anger, which 90% of Fai decks run, I run Stoke the Flames. And I think I'm going to go down to 2. We'll talk about the changes at the end. And then, so those are our starters, and then our Flame Recursions. Then we'll talk about like the off-brand attacks, the ones that like aren't necessarily draconic. And Belittle is like a pseudo starter or second attack that does so much for your deck. Ryan always makes fun of this card, how stupid it is. And for what I'm doing, because I don't want to break the chain with Fai, I always run just 2 blues, and you just go find your blue every time you need it. And chances are you're going to have another attack or a flame in your hand, which you can show your opponent, and then go find your blue. And I've had people ask me, like, dude, you run like 17 blues, and you really still think it's important to go get another blue? Well, yes, it is, because I want to get as much value out of my turn as I can. And sometimes a 1-cost attack and 2 resources for the sword is not going to be good enough if you need to do other things on your turn to try to push mass triggers or get more chain links. And so getting that extra blue out of your deck on a turn where you might need 2 blues is massively important. Especially when we get to talk about like tomes and stuff, like having resources going into that link and even threatening the presence of like, hey, I might play a tome here. I have resources floating, and if I play a tome here, you're like really scared. So I like Belittle just to go get the yellows. I don't necessarily think it would be a cool move to go get like a red minnowism. I don't run it, but just to get the blue is awesome. And then our other off-brand, well, like semi-off brands because they're still ninja cards, is Take the Tempo and Salt the Wound. And Salt the Wound put in some work, baby. Salt the Wound was putting in so much work. Go ahead.
It's gonna be great. No, I was gonna say that's like that card's insane with Fai.
So the way I look at Salt the Wounds is basically Fai's design is like to get hits, get to Chainlink 4, and then play like a rupture card that threatens damage. Well, like Salt the Wounds is like a rupture card, and if it said rupture whatever to do its ability, it would still be good, because chances are like I'm recurring flames and I'm poking for 1 and I'm threatening attacks and swinging swords. I'm going to hit probably like 2 or 3 times, and if I can get to Salt the Wounds to finish that, then you're presenting like a 0 for 5 that blocks for 3 and pitches yellow. So it's so good to where like I don't want to run Lava Burst over this. I don't want to run Breaking Point that costs a resource over this. I want this card as like a rupture card. And I'm not saying that playing 3 is the right call. I don't even play 3 in every matchup. But this card is awesome, and it does work. And people don't like to see it when it comes out at the end of the chain. And you feel like so cool when you do play it at the end of the chain. Take the Tempo is Pressure City. Ending your turn with a Tank the Tempo, again, we can hit so many times in this deck because we're presenting so many chain links, where when you end the turn with the Tank the Tempo, you really are like sucking the wind out of your opponent. They're either going to realize like, hey, I've blocked the best I could this turn, I have to let this hit and just hope they don't get something good off the top. Or they're going to commit the rest of their hand to this, and you then, in fact, have taken the Tempo and gotten all their cards out of their hand. So Take the Tempo is wicked good. Again, I look at it like a rupture card. It's something you would play at the end of the chain links, and I think it's just better than the cards that come with rupture, like our options for rupture cards. And it blocks for 3. So Take the Tempo and Salt the Wounds are like my pseudo rupture cards that both block for 3, and I want to play at the end of chain links. And then, so those are attacks, and the 6 power cards I played in the deck were 3 Command and Conquers. It's still Command and Conquer, and it's still really good. Like Ryan brought up in his video, I can make a case to make it Erase Face because Viscera is so popular right now.
I'm gonna step away real quick, James, but
go for it.
Keep going.
Yeah, because Viscera is so popular right now, and Fai is pretty popular too. And like in the mirror, like playing an Erase Face would really hurt. And then I had the 3 Thaw as well because I didn't know how much Icelander there would be. And Ice Lexi gives us problems, and so does Oldhim. So, excuse me, I wanted to show up to the tournament with 3 Thaw. I did play an Ice Lexi in my second matchup, and I did play Thaw on my first turn. And it felt nice to, pop a Frostbite when I needed to later in the game. And I think it's a solid card, but it's something I definitely would consider cutting because it's extremely situational to what the people around you play and what your meta or friend group does. And then 3 Art of Wars probably goes without explanation on how strong Art of War is. I don't know if I need 3 though. And so we're going to talk about adjustments here in a second. 3 Uprising, I didn't play Uprising like very often at all. This is a card I'm getting rid of 100%. On paper, when you look at it, you're like, oh, okay, 0 for this card's basically a 0 for 4 and it blocks for 3. And so my thought process was like, I'm going to play Uprisings instead of Art of Wars in games where I need to absolutely block at times, like against Guardian or people that present like on hits like Ice Lexi and stuff. Like if I have to stop something from hitting me and an Art of War was in my hand, I'd be pretty pissed off. Whereas Uprising is going to provide value. However, I just don't think it's the right call. Like maybe you can run 1 or 2 of these, but it's going to be the first card that I remove. And then before we talk about Tome, all my blues, of the blues that I run, Soul Bead blocks for 3, Cinderskin blocks for 3, and Lava Vein blocks for 3. So that's 9 blues that 3 block. Minnowism we need 2 because of the Belittle combo. And then we run 3 blue Rising Resentment because the on hit is pretty relevant, and still playing this could have somebody interact with it with a piece of equipment or something, because maybe if you play this as Chain Link 2, if you have a poor hand, you still might be able to get value out of Rising Resentment if they let it hit. And Brandwood Cinderclaw. So those are the blues. And then now Tome. Tome is like, my biggest mistake was just playing 1 Tome. And even playing this 1 Tome, it won me games. It won me the Fai Mirror that I did in round 6. This card is cracked. Like if you can get it, you set yourself up, you arsenal this card, and you set yourself up to have a good Tome turn. Oh my gosh, it's awesome. Like drawing 2 cards off a Tome feels so strong. And I'm going to go up to 2 Tomes, undoubtedly. So, to recap really quick, I didn't talk about Blaze. Sam, our testing partner Sam, calls it Sonic the Hedgehog because Blaze headlong, and now I keep calling it Sonic the Hedgehog. Blaze is like the best card because it does.
Oh, I mean, it's so stupid.
It's so good. It's so good. It makes me so happy. Sometimes like the can only be played after a red card thing might be relevant if your hand is really, cheeks. Like there's times where you will have like a Flame Call and a Blaze and like some other stuff, and you're like, damn, both of these need a red card before them, so I'm gonna have to play this Flame Call and not go search for a flame. But there's been other times where I've like had 2 blues and I've like fully pitched to get a flame out of the graveyard. Like I've fied to have like, I've done weird things like that. There's tons of weird lines in this deck where you can somehow still get red cards in front of these cards to activate their abilities. But Blaze is awesome because coming in at Chain Link 3 for 4 for 0, Threatening Mask is so good. So Blaze is like MVP level status. So that's all the cards in the deck. Round 1, I played a Dromai, and I felt like I was putting on enough pressure to where, and still being able to clear their board state, to where then like I got to a point to where I decided on a turn, I'm going to let them take me down to 1 or 2, and I'm just going to present so much damage back to them. I have to win the game on this turn. And I think that's just like what you have to do. You have to manage her and take advantage when you can use your on hits. And I lost my mask turn 2 to this Dromai player and still won because Fai has the ability to, just go so wide, even though I lost, the mask trigger option so early in the game. That game was a grind. Oh, go ahead.
You feel pretty good in a Dromai, huh?
No, I mean, I don't want to say
everybody. Everybody else is Dromai.
Yeah, you've beaten me up a lot, but
I'm just kidding. I'm giving.
No. You're right though. So like, you definitely, if you run into someone who's not the best Dromai player and they can give you opportunities to like make your deck a lot more advantageous. But they're gonna block you out. Like the good ones are gonna block you out and play the game of like, I'll chip away at you and make you really work on your turns, like Ryan will do to me. And but if you run across a Dromai and they're going to present dragons to you and stuff and whatnot, it's gonna be easy work. Then round 2, I faced Ice Lexi and John, which I'm not favored in that matchup at all, but a lot of things went right for me that game. Like I said, turn 1, I got a thaw into the graveyard. He kind of missed on some of his draws at times. I was able to present so much pressure every turn because the Ice Lexi also doesn't want to block. If they can't fuse and do some of their tricks, they lose a ton of their momentum. And so when I'm presenting so much damage to them with on hits and flame recursion and mass triggers, they kind of get in their head as to, am I playing this right? Am I blocking this right? Am I doing the right thing? And John's an excellent player, and that game went down to the wire. And I barely won that off of him. I think if we played it 5 more times, he probably takes it the next 4, especially after he saw me play it that one time. He would know what to expect. So that game was super close. Then round 3, I played the Viscerai guy. What is his name? Was it Aaron?
Aaron.
Yeah, that guy was such a good player, and he knew exactly what he was doing with his Viz, and he wasn't playing like the Arsenal Pass Viz with like the belittles and minnowisms and stuff. He like was a little bit, but it was different. And that guy, that was just a straight up race that I lost. And I've tested that matchup with Sam a lot, and it's not something we like. I think it just presents way too much for Fai. There's too many things that he can do where it's like, if this hits, make more rune chance, and Fai just does not want to block at all. And so he can pour in just so much more damage than we can because we cannot manage the multi-damage system that he presents in a way where unless we high roll, we're going to lose that game.
He destroyed me too. I mean, Viscerai's just in a really good spot, and Aaron just pilots like a monster.
Yeah. Then round 4, I played Jody, this Prism player in our scene. She's like a really good Prism player. Every tournament I go to, she's like in the top 8, in the top 8, in the top 8. I never see this girl not in the top 8. And so, of course, I get super nervous because I'm like, okay, I know I'm favored in a Prism, but she knows exactly what she's doing. This is going to be hard. I'm not going to like this. And I gassed it. And it was like the first time I ever got a Phoenix form turn off, like in Phoenix, like full on Phoenix form, 3 flames, hits, draw 3, and it's just GG's at that point. And Fai is such a problem for Prism because of how wide we can go. Threading mask and making her block and, chipping away at like ending turns and taking off auras or whatnot. However, it was still close because like on her first turn, she does the 1 for whatever. What is the 1 for 7? 1 for 7, go again, hit me with that. 1 for 7, she had another one, hit me with that. And then like presents so much damage. So the Herald aggro Prism is like a thing now, and that swings big. So you put your poppers in and pray that you get it at the right time. Then I lost to Bravo the next round. And
No. Tell about the Phoenix form. Did you already cover that?
Yeah, it was basically, it's so cool because if the deck sets itself up, a lot of the times I arsenal a Phoenix Flame like a lot more than I use it. I will only play the Phoenix Flame at the end of the turn if it's gonna threaten mask. If it's not going to threaten mask or give me like an advantage in some capacity, I'm going to arsenal it because my deck is set up for the Phoenix form turn. And so if there's 1 in arsenal and 2 in grave, it's a lot easier to get 2 out of the grave because of Inflame, because of Fai's ability himself. And then if you have it in the arsenal, So arsenaling the Phoenix Flame is like a very key component to this style of Fai. You almost want to do it every time. That's why Command and Conquer sucks, because you're not going to block it and you're just going to lose your flame. But I found myself like presenting, 2 to 3 Phoenix Flames in a turn so often. And so that's why I think like Phoenix form fits the way I want to play this deck. And you know what? It's fun. I want to try to high roll someone. I was so giddy inside when I played that card and knew that this player couldn't block it because I had extended the chain link so long and forced them to block to stop mask at multiple times. And like getting that card off and knowing you're going to win the game. Like if it hits, you just win the game, was so cool. So, moving on, I faced a Bravo. That might be like the hardest Fai matchup because that dude throws down so many relevant on hits that we cannot stop. With Dominate, with Spinals, with Cripplings, with Terra Sunder, with Pulverize, with Pummels, just things that are taking cards out of our hand or stopping our go-agains. It's extremely scary. And if I was like pressure sitting this person and they were just like, yep, take it, taking all the damage I would do because they knew that then they were going to present something to me that it's going to take me 2 turns to recover from. So that was a loss and it wasn't particularly close, even though the health total was close. That's by choice. And then the Fai Mirror is interesting. Fai Mirror is a super fast game. You know exactly what your opponent wants to do. And then that's why I think like games like cards like Stoke the Flames, like he doesn't want to block Stoke the Flame. So I'm going to get the flame back. I'm going to be able to do other things. And Tome won me that game. It's just a race at that point. Moving forward though. So like changes, like Ryan talked about, like the changes he wants to make, the changes I would do or have done so far. I haven't touched Belittle, haven't touched Blaze, haven't touched Brand. The Command and Conquerors right now I have as Erase Face because of the Fai Mirror. But I might just switch it back to Command and Conquer. I don't know what the right call is and how popular Viscera is. So the Command and Conquerors got swapped to Erase Face because Viscera is like so good right now and Fai's kind of around. And I just want to try the Erase Face before I go back to the Command and Conquer. The Flame Calls can... Go ahead.
Neither one are, in terms of poppers, right? Neither one are particularly amazing in Dromai. Erase Face doesn't do anything to Dromai, and Command and Conquer, like, I don't mind blocking it out, right? So, like, why not hedge your bets against the other matchups? And you're not blocking anyway, so the 2 block versus the 3 doesn't really matter for you. Yeah. So I like that call. Erase Face like hits the decks that you have trouble with, and it kind of gives you an edge in the mirror. Yeah, and against me, it's just a popper. You're not playing it against me.
Yeah, it would. Erase Face gives Ice Lexi problems. It gives Viscera problems. It gives the Fai Mirror problems. However, I will say there's like a case to like even when you know Erase Face gives the Viscera player a problem. I was played Sam like so many times these last couple days, and that I was like, dude, I don't want to play this 2-cost attack. Like just to maybe shut down like a Marvin Sky's turn for you. Like I'm going to just race you. This is going to last 3 turns anyway. And this doesn't synergize with the rest of my deck. So there's just a case to be had to like get it gone.
Just run it in the mirror.
Yeah, just run it in the mirror. Where it has like its highest potential, or Ice Lexi. But yep. Okay, so then you don't touch the Flame Call. 2 in Flame, I think, is the right call. I think 3 is a little much because of how low of a damage attack it is, and it only blocks for 2. But it's such an important card to get the Flame out of the graveyard because Rise from the Ashes does it in a weird way where that Flame that you go get then has to be like, Chainlink 1 or it's not buffing the Flame. And Rise is an interesting card. I like Inflame, but I think 2 Inflames is the right call. I think you can't go to 3. Then obviously we don't touch Phoenix Flame. We don't touch Phoenix Form because that's what this deck's trying to do. Well, we don't touch the Rising Resentments or the Ronins. Spreading Flames is, if you play this deck like the style that I'm playing, then Spreading Flames is Value City, because we are poking and doing low ball attacks and using our flames to get to higher chain links to then give our other cards more value. So if we're recurring flames and using flames in the link, Spreading Flames is Value City because it buffs everything. And then by the time we've used flames and in flames to get buffs on, weaker attacks, then we're on chain link, 4, and that's when we're dancing. That's when everything gets pumped up a lot. So Spreading Flames is Value City if you're gonna recur Phoenix Flames the way that I'm doing it. Stoke the Flames, I'm gonna try to go down to 2, and then I'm going to mess around with some other stuff. 3 is good, but I think 2's fine. Take the Tempo I'm not touching. Salt the Wound I'm not touching. I don't play 3 in every matchup. Sometimes I do 2 of each. Art of War might go down to 2 of, because the games where Art of War goes off, it's like, dang, Art of War just won me this game, let's go. And then there's other times where it's like, dang, Art of War did not pay off in this game at all. I wish this was like an attack or something different. So 3 might cluster up your deck a little bit. And then another thing I need to consider with this deck is I want attacks off the top, right? I want to hit people off the top rope with elbow drops. And take the
rope.
Yeah. And take the Tempo, you need to hit an attack action card off the top. Like if they take the Tempo hit, when your mask hits, you want to draw into like attacks to threaten more damage. Sometimes it's good to draw into like, an Art of War or whatnot. But you just got to kind of be careful with how many non-attacks you have in your deck. And yeah, so Salt stays. Art of War could go down to 2. Thaw could probably go down to 2 as well, or 3. I don't really know, like Ryan said. Tomes, I'm going up to 2. Uprising's getting cut completely. So what I am adding, though, is a little camera shot here. Because I'm using so much flame recursion, and my whole gimmick is to get Phoenix Flames into the chain link, my only big payoff right now is a Phoenix form, and it feels really bad when that's the only big payoff card I have. So I'm gonna try to add 2 Rise Ups. Now I know it costs 1, and it's a Rupture card, but I think it just presents a lot of value because it blocks for 3, and at best, like if you got like all 3 flames in the link and you didn't have a form, but you have a Rise Up, then it's a 1-for-9 dominate. That's still pretty good. Or
bad.
Yeah, and I guess like even if you only have 1 flame in the link, it's a 1-for-5 dominate. So like I think I have to test this card because the style that I'm playing like is promoting me to play this. And coincidentally, the promo that you get from the Armory is a full art or like extended art one. So they're showing,
play it.
Yeah, you got to read between the lines on what they want you to do with this deck. And that would be my like advice. My advice would be like reps, because on surface level, it looks like Fai's just like attacks, like good attacks, threaten mask, attacks, good attacks, and go. But like the more you play him, the more you'll realize how weird you have to really plan every turn, and go about ordering your. It's not combo because it's not ninja and there's not specific things you need to do, but you kind of have to find the correct combo line on your own as you go about navigating these chain links. So again, it's probably not the best version, but it's something I'm having fun with, and I felt like I did well with. It's kind of a high roll deck. Most of these Fai decks that you're going to see that do well don't even play Phoenix form. Some of them even go down to 1 Phoenix Flame. The one guy who won the Indianapolis one plays the card that burns him away into the banish zone because it's a 0-for-4 go again then if you do that. And so that's just value, right? Like 0-for-4 is just like damage go. But so they don't care about recurring flames. They want to get rid of them, and they use Fai in a different way. I want to have the high roll fun, and I want to take my chance, and I'm going to try to do my best to have my skill make up for the low floor. Like Like it has a higher ceiling, my deck does, but a lower floor. But I'm gonna have my skill try to increase the floor, just like a little bit. And so the more I pilot this, we'll see how it goes. I just talked a lot.
No. I mean, it's me, man. I'm whatever. What would be your advice? So someone picking up Fai, do you think it's easier to pilot your list, or do you think like you've taken a little bit more of an adventure? I think mine was like, this is the list I want. It performed well. Now I can tweak off this. I'm just a god at deck building apparently, where I can just put in cards and now it's automatically good. I feel like you've had like 5, 6, 7 different iterations, and you finally settled on one where the style is clicking. What would be your advice for somebody like picking up Fai, like thinking, oh, this is the premier aggro deck now? Like, how do I play this deck? Like, I'm just gonna put in all this go against shit, and I'm just gonna win games. And clearly, that's not the case, because that didn't work out for you as well as you had hoped when your version 1 hit the table. So, someone new picking up Fai for the first time, what's your advice to them?
He comes with inherent risk, and I think like you can see like Ryan having success with Dromai, very low risk, high. Like you can play her in a multitude of different ways, but it doesn't come with extenuous risk where turn off or 2, the game is done, you have lost, or you have exponentially missed. And that's a style that you have to embrace with Fai, is that you are playing a high-risk deck. If things do not go right, or the wrong things happen to you early in a game, you're behind the 8 ball and you have to claw back, and it's hard. It's hard to claw back, which is like why you see like a good pilot will play a deck that can pivot. Ryan's deck can pivot. Icelander can pivot. Levi is the king of reading the situation and knowing when and when not to pressure or block. And when you play Fai, you have to kind of just accept the fact that the fate is you have to kill them soon and go, or at least maintain pressure and find your way to best maintain pressure. And the inherent risk is that it's not always going to work out, so you need to then know your lines to still promote your best damage, your best damage opportunities. And so blocking in Fai is interesting because, like, I don't want to say you never do it, because sometimes you have to do it. It's frowned upon. You don't want to do it, but there's times where you can't. You have to, and it's a style that you have to test and play. And he's a character that, on paper, like Ryan said, you're like, oh, it's the premier aggro deck, but he comes with so much risk. Like Dash is a great aggro deck. There's not that much risk. All her cards block for 3. She can boost. She can still do her great everything, and she's Gucci. She's got a block for a turn. The Dash player can do that and still then be like, okay, but in another 2 turns, I'm about to clap back. Whereas Fai, it's like, I don't know if I can block this turn, and once I've blocked, this game might be over. Like I need to maintain pressure. I need to threaten my mask every single turn. I need to keep the foot down on the pedal. So I think it's just reps, getting it on the table and seeing how you like to play the deck. Because right now there's so many different versions floating around, and if you want to try to get the Phoenix form off because it's a really cool card, then play this style. But if you want to probably just be like, threaten more damage, threaten your mass trigger a little bit more efficiently, and have a little bit more consistency, then don't play my list. The list that I'm playing comes with risk, and I think I've just adapted to the risk. If you get what I'm saying, like at first I didn't know or understand how to go about the risk because it was something I was not used to doing. Now I understand like how to kind of crisis management when I have to, but then, fully put the pedal down too. I don't know if that makes any sense what I just said.
No, it does. It's so like you playing that, it's really cool because like we started this game together for, I know the people that are watching this video know that, but we started this game together, and like you and I have so like two distinct styles. Like never have we worked on a deck together. Like
not one time.
Yeah, but like we give each other pointers, and like we play all the time against each other, and we're always bouncing ideas off each other, and like we know each other so well that, and we know each other's decks, but like style that you like to play, I would never be comfortable playing that style of deck. And the style that I play, you would never be comfortable playing my style of deck. And so it's cool because I finally feel like, you're in your element with this deck where you're okay with that risk because you know the ins and outs, you know what you're trying to do, and you're okay with that risk, where I also know what I'm trying to do, and I like playing a little bit more patient and a little bit slower, whatever it is. So it's interesting because both of these decks, we've talked about it, like there's a reason that you and I are like so excited about this set. We were excited going into this set. We're excited about now performing well with this set. But I finally feel like both of us really have found kind of our niche in this game, where I loved Prism, but this just feels a little bit more of a patient Prism. And you play Fai, where you've been looking for that kind of aggro-ish deck, and now you have it. And it's cool. It's cool to see the evolution that we've taken, and both of us have kind of found that those decks in this set. So yeah, it's really cool to see. But yeah, to your point, it's I would not be comfortable playing that style of deck, and I'm glad that you are, and I'm glad that you are also very knowledgeable and very successful with it, because it's cool to see.
And I think,
go ahead.
I think it's with the game shifting to where we are, you're going to see less decks that have a good matchup into everything. Like it looks like Viserai is that deck right now, but you're gonna see less of that, and you're gonna run into.
He didn't even win.
He didn't even win. But he's got.
Get top. He didn't even win top 4.
Oh, Aaron didn't get top 4. He got busted out round 1.
No. So for those of you guys that don't know, a boost dash won our RTN. It was the top 8 was 2 Briars, a dash, a Viserai, a Bravo, 2 Briars, a dash, a Viserai, a Bravo. There might have been a third Briar in there.
I can't remember.
I'm blanking on the other one, but yeah, Aaron did not get top 4. But yeah, I agree with you that Viserai, like, he's got the best matchups into like both you and me probably. But they're like, I don't know, as a whole, right? And I know you can agree with me. Like, talk about the meta. This is the best I've ever felt playing this game. Like, Prism wasn't near the top table, and I know that she sometimes has like a feel bad moment against a lot of.
There was 3 Viserais.
3 Viserais.
3 Viserais, a Bravo, a dash, a Lexi, and 2 Briars.
3 Viserais in the top. Okay, so yeah, so Viserai's doing well, but like. Even when I played Aaron and you played Aaron, we both got kind of stomped, but like I never felt I felt he earned that. Like he played really well, he knew the matchup, whatever. It wasn't like Starvo, it wasn't like Chain where it's just like I can't do anything. Like this is the healthiest in my mind that I've ever played in this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's just such a fun time to be playing Flesh and Blood, and it's just a fun time. Even with the Viserai kind of being, I don't mind Viserai being the guy. Like I'm okay with that.
But
like
to counter what you were gonna say though, not counter what you're gonna say, because I think your deck fits exactly what you just said. Like you're not gonna get stomped necessarily by any one thing. And I was gonna tell people that play Fai, you have to accept the fact that that's not necessarily the case. You might come into a matchup that you're just heavily unfavored in. And that's just okay, right? Like you show up to the tournament, you know your absolute weakness might be Guardian, like a very attack heavy Guardian that's going to put on hits. or like a Ice Lexi, and you just hope you don't see them until the top 8 if you have to, and because you don't have the option to go mid range. Like Katsu can have an option to go mid range for a little bit. Dash can go mid range if they need to, whereas like if you play this deck, you can't. So you have to just accept that and go with it, right? And I think that's cool.
Yeah, but like also, yeah, that's how it should be. Like also, Guardian's not making up 90% of the meta, right? Like if you can figure out your sideboard and like maybe, okay, I can compete with the Rune Blades, I can go this fast and this is my strategy against them and I can get to a 50-50 win rate, but I'm going to lose against Bravo. Like I think that's a trade-off that you make, right? Like a lot of the tweaking is going to be like, I knew going into it, like my weakness is probably Viserai and then it's probably going to be Dorinthia, but like I think there's counterplay for me to make against Dorinthia that where in my head I don't feel as uncomfortable against that matchup as a lot of people are saying it's a bad matchup. But like Viserai was like the matchup for me. Like I lost to John, who is a fantastic player. He's been around our meta forever. He always tops. He's a great player, and he was on Lexi, where on paper that should have been a very winnable matchup for me. And there were decisions that I should have made or could have made that made us swing the matchup. But again, it's John. Like he's going to win top matchup. It's not a 100-0 matchup for Dromai, and I'm comfortable with that. Like I think people are going to start tweaking against Dromai. I don't know if she was necessarily disrespected this week or people are going to now figure out, okay, she's a real deck. Like when we did our intro video, everyone was like, she's trashed here. She's bad. She's 2.5. She's not going to be good. I think that's gone. Like that opinion is out the window. I think people are now like, she's like the real deal. I think people are like, Fai was one dimensional. He's very easy to stop. I think that's gone. These two decks are very playable. They are very good. If you're good at the deck and you put the time into the deck, I think both of them are extremely powerful. And I think both of them have an opportunity to adjust their style to fit whatever meta you're likely to see. Mm-hmm. So I like that aspect. That's why kind of going back. I think it's extremely healthy. I think there are a lot of like Sam was. We were talking to Sam, and if he had gone to the tournament, he was actually going to bring Katsu, which I don't think there was another Katsu there, or at least not towards the top. But Sam, so he would have done well. But that just goes to like show how good even the older heroes are. Phil got, I think, what you get 9th, 10th. I think Phil got 11th or 12th. He was playing on Blade Dory, and he was 4-2. So like. We had really good representation in our top 15 between the Bravos that were there, the Viserais that were there, the Briars that were there, which a lot of people wrote them off. Me and you with Fai and Dromai, Ash that won. Like there was just a lot of good representation in our top 15 that shows you how wide open this meta is. Lexi that got top 4. Like all of these heroes now are extremely viable, which lends itself to, okay, get a deck, your deck, learn your matchups, and just get very good at knowing what situations you want to play which cards. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really cool. It's really healthy. It's not like, oh my God, we have to run in. Now my sideboard slot has to now consist of, 6 unmovables because Starvo's just gonna Starvo.
That's the worst. That's the worst.
Yeah, because you're losing 6 deck slots. And like the cool thing about Raise Face and Command and Conquer, right? You don't mind siding them in or putting them in your deck because it's not a waste of spot like, Unmovable might be. Like Command and Conquer is Command and Conquer. A Raise Face is a Raise Face.
They made a Raise Face. They made a Raise Face in case Starvo didn't LLL.
Yeah, but like notice like those are two poppers that deal with Prism and Dromai, but they're also just good. They're just good cards. So like you don't feel bad about slotting those into your deck. If you're worried about Prism or Dromai, you're like, okay, I guess I have to put in Command and Conquer and a Raise Face. Like you're probably going to add those cards anyway because they're just good against everybody, right? It's not like, okay, I have to slot in movables and all these defense reactions and there goes 9 spots in my deck because Starvo's a thing. And like you don't have to worry about, okay, now I have all these these defense reactions that are just useless against Chain because Rosetta Thorn is busted. Like, I don't know. It just feels really, really good.
I agree. And I think as we evolve, if you like, we'll link these deck lists in if you want to go with it. But at the same time, like, we're going to keep evolving this and changing and like start here, take it and like do, like Ryan said, do with what you want with like what we have as a foundation. Know that you can show up and like do well with these decks if you practice with them beforehand. I don't think it's neither of these decks can you just build and take to an event and be like, I'm gonna do well. They're not that powerful, or they come with enough of a learning curve where you have to practice. But as we evolve and update them, it will be fun to see. Like you said, we started week 1. It was like, Fai will be pretty good. Dromai's trash. Here's some lists. Okay. And then we've evolved now after 2 weeks. And it'll be nice to see after 2 more weeks, after more Road to Nats and what we do in practice, like where we are in 2 weeks from now is going to be different. I change this list every night. I like sit up and I'm like, so I sit here and I like tinker every single night because I'm a psychopath.
That's how I am too.
But it'll be fun to see where that takes us, in the next 2 weeks and then 2 weeks after that and all the way up until the next set, shit.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm very much back into the grind of tinkering and playing and grinding, playtesting and more tinkering. It's just it's been a lot of fun. And yeah, I think the best advice that we could give to newer listeners is just, or newer players that listen to us, practice. Find a deck. Like, if you like dragons, this deck is the shit. Play it. Just practice it. Develop your patience. Learn the sequencing. Don't just slam dragons on the table and be like, attack with dragon. Like, you're not going to find success in that. But learn your patience and learn how to read your opponent and their hand size. And find people that really do well and are honest in testing. Jim and Levi and Sam and Chris, and they've helped me tremendously because being able to run through my sequence of events and then say, okay, had I attacked with this, did you have a popper? Yes or no? Okay, you learn information through conversation. So do that. And if you have any conversation or questions for us, like, absolutely ask us. Like, I'm not saying that I'm the best Dromai player in the world. I am not at all. I'm a 9th place finisher at a 40-person event. I didn't even top 8, but I think that I've got a decent enough handle now where I could continue taking a version of this list to different competitive tournaments in our meta, and I would expect to have some sort of success there because of just how I know this deck and how I can evolve with different cards and different decisions throughout the process. So yeah, do you have any parting thoughts or anything like that?
My parting thoughts are, I guess, don't be discouraged to fail. That first week, I was like,
coming from you. Yeah, I had to talk you off the ledge a couple times.
That first week, I was extremely pissed off because I was extremely like, I'm gonna spend so much money to go all in on Fai because I like ninjas, and I'm gonna do this because I think it'll be so cool. And then when I found out how fragile he was, it really tested my play style. I was not used to the style, and I couldn't flow with it. And I found the whole first week of testing to be extremely frustrating. Like, it was just not clicking. So don't be discouraged when it doesn't go your way. Like, all decks can be good decks. It just takes time. So, yep, that's about it. And interact with us. Leave comments. That's another final thought. We can't get... We love our own opinions. We're guilty of that. Like, I love my own opinion on the cards. Ryan likes his opinions on his cards. But, like, hearing other people. We might not take your advice, but we still want to hear your case for other things, because then it puts that seed into my brain. It's like, maybe I should consider this, or how do you use this? So interact with us and leave comments.
Definitely. Couple things to look out for. I'm going to probably record another solo Dromai list with my updates that just breaks down, each card goes a little bit more in depth. I'm probably going to try to record that sometime soon. And Levi and Sam want to record a little bit more gameplay, and they invited Jim and myself to live commentate on some of their matchups, which is going to be hilarious, because watching Jim and I try to interpret Levi's layering with wizard stuff is going to be entertaining.
This is on the stack.
Entertaining. I would try to interpret instant speed nonsense while with the two of us is going to be hysterical, because usually it takes 10 minutes for Levi to explain to us, how the stack resolves and stuff like that, and how he specifically layered it to screw us over, which is amazing. But yeah, so be on the lookout for that. And then, just different channel updates. Chris and Levi are working on Icelander, so both of them are going to probably, be posting soon. Sam is, doing Sam stuff. I expect him to, post some of his lists that he's been working on in a little bit too. So be on the lookout for some good content. We're excited. We're trying to post a little bit more regularly. I know there was a little bit of a break between our last video and this one.
Yeah, because we had tournaments, baby.
Yeah, we were prepping for real life stuff. And we did have results. We didn't have the results that we were hoping for, but we had results that we're proud of. On behalf of Jim and all the people that are part of this team that make this ship go, but that we're not a part on this particular video, we appreciate you guys. I am Ryan with the Roundtable of Wraith. Thank you for pulling up a chair. Until next time, guys, we're out.